The house had stood for 70 years, its walls cracked like the lines on Amma's hands, its floors worn smooth by decades of footsteps, its corners holding the breath of a lifetime. Amma was 97 years old, and she had lived in this house longer than most people live at all. She had cooked in its kitchen when her hair was black and her back was straight. She had cried in its bedroom when her husband took his last breath. She had laughed in its courtyard when her children were small and the world felt infinite and kind. But now her son, Rafiq, a good man, a busy man, a man crushed under the weight of debts she didn't fully understand, had decided to sell it. He had explained it to her gently, carefully, the way you explain something to someone you love but cannot save. He had shown her papers. He had used words like necessary and no choice and better future. Amma had listened without a single word, without a single tear, and that silence had frightened Rafiq more than any argument could have. She didn't eat that evening. She didn't speak at dinner. She sat in her chair by the window, the same chair she had sat in for 40 years, and stared at the street outside as if memorizing it, the way a person stares at a face they know they will never see again. Rafiq told himself she would be okay. He told himself she would adjust. He went to sleep with a heavy heart but a made-up mind. It was past midnight when he heard it, the softest sound, like a ghost moving through the house. He opened his eyes and lay still, listening. Then he rose and followed the sound through the dark hallway, and what he saw stopped him completely. Amma was standing in the kitchen, her frail 97-year-old hand pressed flat against the wall, her eyes closed, her lips moving in a whisper he could not hear. He watched her shuffle slowly to the corner where the old stove used to be before they replaced it, and she touched that wall too, gently, lovingly, the way you touch the face of someone sleeping. She moved to the small window above the sink, the one that looked into the back garden, and she pressed her forehead against the cold glass for a long moment. Rafiq felt something crack open inside his chest. He followed her silently, room by room, wall by wall, as his 97-year-old mother said goodbye to her home the only way she knew how, without words, without demands, without burdening anyone with her grief. In the hallway, she stopped at a particular spot on the wall and smiled, actually smiled, and Rafiq realized it was the spot where, for 30 years, they had marked the heights of children and grandchildren in pencil. The marks were still there, faint, but there, little rulers of time, little proof that this family had lived and grown and loved inside these walls. Amma touched each mark with one finger, moving her lips, saying names only she could hear: Rafiq, Sana, little Ahmed, baby Zara. And Rafiq, standing in the dark hallway of his childhood home, began to cry without making a sound, the tears running down his face the way rain runs down an old wall, finding every crack, filling every hollow. She didn't know he was watching. She moved to the main bedroom, the room where she and his father had slept for 43 years, and she sat on the edge of the bed and placed both palms flat on the mattress beside her, as if feeling for a warmth that had been gone for 20 years, but that she still, somehow, expected to find. She sat like that for a long time. Then she folded her hands in her lap and looked up at the ceiling and said, very quietly, in a voice so small it was almost nothing, "Thak gayi hu, lekin jana nahi chahti." I am tired, but I do not want to go. Rafiq stepped back into the shadow of the doorway and pressed his hand over his mouth. He stood there until Amma slowly rose, smoothed the bedsheet with great care, and shuffled back to her room. He heard her door close softly. He stood in the dark hallway for a very long time. In the morning, Rafiq called the real estate agent before Amma had even woken up. He said the deal was off. The man argued. Rafiq said it again, more quietly but more completely. The deal is off. He made tea. He set out Amma's cup, the white one with the small chip on the handle that she refused to let anyone throw away. He sliced bread the way she liked it, thin with the crusts on. When Amma came out of her room, moving slowly with her hand on the wall for balance, she found the table set and her son sitting there waiting for her, his eyes red but his face calm. She looked at him for a moment. She looked at her cup. She sat down without a word and wrapped both hands around the warm cup and closed her eyes. And Rafik understood then what he should have understood long before, that some things cannot be measured in money, that some walls hold more than plaster and brick, and that a 97-year-old woman pressing her forehead against a cold kitchen window in the middle of the night is not just a woman saying goodbye to a house. She is saying goodbye to every version of herself she has ever been. She is saying goodbye to the young bride who crossed this threshold with her whole life ahead of her. She is saying goodbye to the mother who kissed small foreheads in the hallway and marked their heights on the wall. She is saying goodbye to the wife who grew old in these rooms beside a man she loved until he was gone. She is saying goodbye to 97 years of living, the cooking and the crying, the praying and the laughing, the ordinary, extraordinary, sacred dailiness of a life fully lived inside four walls that knew her name. The house stayed, and in it, so did she.